You can always have another child. Just snag another man quickly and have a shotgun wedding. At that moment, upon hearing my mother-in-law's words, my mind inexplicably calmed down. I realized it was useless to talk to her. Just have another, you say? My child in my womb is one of a kind. I would never give them up to anyone. Understood. I'll get a divorce. Thus, I divorced my husband during the final month of my pregnancy. However, this isn't the end. Just you watch. My name is Stacy, I'm 33 years old, and I'm a pregnant woman in my final month about to give birth to my first child. My husband's name is Eric. He's the same age as me, a civil servant, and a dependable, kind person. We became close through a mutual friend. He confessed his love to me, and after 3 years of dating, we lived together for a year with the intention to marry, which led to our marriage when I became pregnant. We sometimes have silly arguments, but he's a trustworthy, important partner. The baby in my belly is a boy. Both my husband and I eagerly await the day we'll meet him. The due date is just around the corner. I must make sure everything is ready for the hospital and keep my health in check. Then, one day, I was doing stretches at home for an easy delivery. The intercom rang again today, as it has been again today. Stacy, I know you're there, open up quickly. A brash voice without reservation is heard. I'm fed up with these daily visits. Life is inconvenient enough with a huge belly, why do I need additional stress? Stacy, you're not sleeping, are you? I know you're there, get up. Reluctantly, I open the door. Your husband is working, and you're napping? I'm not sleeping. Then open up quickly. While complaining, my mother-in-law barges in uninvited. As if I can move quickly in my final month, I want to retort. What do you need, mother? I've come to check on my daughter-in-law. If there's anything, I'll contact you, so you don't need to come every day. It's so hot. When will it end, I wonder? Some tea. Slowly, I stand up and leisurely head to the kitchen. It's a small act of rebellion. What about some tea? It's not like my name is Tea. It's nonsensical to come to check on your pregnant daughter-in-law and demand tea. It's really. Having a shotgun wedding is so embarrassing, I can't tell the neighbors. As if talking to herself, my mother-in-law begins her usual chatter. Mother, I've told you many times, but we don't say shotgun wedding anymore. Please say it was a blessed marriage. After downing the iced tea I prepared, she frowns and looks dissatisfied. What a strong-willed daughter-in-law. It's unbelievable how you glare at your mother-in-law and take such a defiant attitude. When did I ever show such an attitude? I think, but it's not strange if I unconsciously did. If the same thing is said every day, even I, usually calm, would get angry. My mother-in-law also says unnecessary things like you've gained too much weight or your clothes don't suit you anymore. It accumulates stress each time, and I wish she would stop, but it's hard for me to say, so I've asked my husband to warn her several times. He is completely on my side, which I appreciate. However, she doesn't care at all. She's the type to say whatever comes to mind right away. It's unclear whether she means harm or not. What's clear is she's not a very pleasant person. My mother-in-law divorced when my husband was a student and now lives alone. She comes here every day because she's free. Preparing a second cup of tea, I head to the kitchen again. Barely audible, she muttered. If only Jennifer had been the one to have my grandchild. This, too, has been said many times. I pretend not to hear. Jennifer is my husband's childhood friend, the only daughter of a well-known local real estate agent. They were in the same class in elementary school, and everyone teased them about being a couple. My husband says, did that really happen, as he doesn't remember, but in his mother's mind, they were childhood friends who promised their futures to each other. I, the villainess who tore them apart, have supposedly ruined her life plans. When my husband heard this, he was furious and said clearly, Mom, stop making up stories. However, this Jennifer woman also frequents my husband's parents' house lately. We haven't run into each other as a couple, but strangely, she chats and drinks coffee with my mother-in-law and even stays for dinner. No matter how close they were as childhood friends, it's odd for her to relax at a married man's parental home, especially without her husband. I don't care about it, so you shouldn't either, says my husband, but it's not that simple. Being pregnant and with my hormonal balance off, my irritation is uncontrollable. Now that I'm in my final month and can't move as I want, my frustration grows even more. I trust my husband, but Jennifer's presence is as stressful as my mother-in-law's. Is my mother-in-law coming to check on me or to harass me? Maybe she's just taking a walk and stopping by for tea to cool off. After finishing the second cup of tea, I speak to her. Mother, I'm about to leave soon. Huh? Where to? For my prenatal checkup. Didn't you just go last week? I'm in my final month, so it's every week now. Huh? That's troublesome, I wanted to go shopping. As she glances at me sideways, my mother-in-law says, Are you making an old person walk in this heat? Surely, she's not suggesting that a pregnant woman in her final month should drive her. I've been advised by my husband to avoid driving as much as possible. Shopping, huh? Take care. As I brush her off with that, she gets angry. Really, you're such an inconsiderate daughter-in-law. Jennifer would never say such a thing. I can't let that go without responding. Even Jennifer wouldn't quietly become a taxi. I'm not canceling my prenatal appointment just to drive you, Mother. Nobody's saying you should cancel, just go a bit later. I can't do that. Then, I'll accompany you to the checkup. Only my husband is allowed to accompany me. Really, what a daughter-in-law you are. My mother-in-law sighs dramatically. Even with that look on her face, it's not my fault, and there's nothing I can do about it. If this continues, she'll keep nagging and I might be late for my checkup. Mother, please don't force yourself to come tomorrow, I have things to do as well. What? Wait a minute. I pushed my mother-in-law's back and forcefully showed her out. I refused to stress myself further by being considerate. Afterwards, my checkup went without any issues. It looks like the birth is still a bit off, said the doctor. Try to stay active and prepare for delivery. The ultrasound shows my child curled up in the cramped space of my womb. I hear it's the baby who decides the timing of the birth, but he doesn't seem to want to come out yet despite the discomfort. Whenever you're ready, come on out. I gently stroked my belly. I decided to stop by the supermarket on my way home from a walk. As I was walking cheerfully, I happened to see my mother-in-law in front of the supermarket, walking amiably with a woman. Could it be? I feel like having some pasta today. If Jennifer says so. Yay, I'm so happy. You're really a good and straightforward girl. I instinctively hid. I saw something I shouldn't have. The two of them looked like a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law getting along well. Eric should just hurry up and be honest and get the divorce over with. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard my mother-in-law's words. Divorce? Where did that come from? I could hear my own heart beating. At that moment, my mother-in-law noticed me. Isn't that Stacy? What a coincidence to see you here. With my big belly, I stood out even though I was hiding. It seemed like it was going to be a hassle, but I couldn't pretend I hadn't heard. Excuse me, did you just say it would be better if he got a divorce? Eric's childhood friend scrutinized me from head to toe. It was an unpleasant gaze. My mother-in-law, unapologetic, brazenly responded, Oh, you heard that? If it weren't for the child, he was supposed to marry Jennifer, so he regrets it. Regrets? Who does? It has to be Eric. There's no way my husband would say such a thing. However, my mother-in-law and his childhood friend looked triumphantly smug. Poor Eric. He married you out of necessity, even though you're such a plain woman. His childhood friend looked down on me as she spoke. What's all this about regrets and marrying out of necessity? As I tried to retort, the two of them exchanged glances and smirked. Such a naive woman. Jennifer is the suitable wife for our family. I'm always ready. All that's left is for Eric to divorce and come back to me. What? My head spun in confusion. What are they even talking about? Do you understand your position now? I was speechless. The shock and the incomprehensible meaning of my mother-in-law's words overwhelmed me. Seeing me like this, my mother-in-law sneered through her nose, looking at Jennifer, who is beautiful and has a perfect figure. You can't even utter a word. A handsome man like Eric is wasted on you. Oh, and by the way, once the grandchild is born, I'll be the one raising him. Please send Eric back with the baby. After all, the child is supposed to inherit Jennifer's family business. What are these people talking about? I felt a chill at their absurdity. I supported my belly with both hands as if to protect my child. Don't talk about sending my child back as if he's an object. I felt terrified and fled from the spot as quickly yet carefully as I could. Once home, I immediately called my husband. Shaking, I asked for help, and concerned, he left work early to come home. After hearing the situation, my husband looked into my eyes and slowly explained. All that talk of his childhood friend is completely baseless. I have no relationship with her and haven't seen her face in a while. If you're worried, you can check my phone or verify my work hours at the company. I have nothing to hide. I chose to believe my husband as he spoke earnestly. But why would your mother and they start saying such things? How long has she been on good terms with his childhood friend? There's so much I don't understand. I recalled my mother-in-law's words. Maybe she wants an heir. What do you mean? I don't quite understand, but since she said to hand over the child in my belly, maybe. As I got to that point, my husband's expression changed. What? Hand over my child? To make him the heir of his childhood friend's family? It seemed I had touched a raw nerve in him, who was looking forward to our child's birth even more than I was. Are they planning to take my child? I won't allow it. This was the first time I saw my husband so furious. I knew he was looking forward to the child's birth, but I hadn't realized how strong his feelings were. It's okay, I won't let that happen. Even though I reassured him, my husband still seemed unsettled. No matter what happens, I won't allow it. I've warned them many times already. Even I have my limits. My husband expressed his anger openly. That's right, me too. Listen, if they persist, I have a plan. And then, about an hour later, when my husband's anger had settled, he returned to the office to finish the work he had left behind. Suddenly, as if timed perfectly, my mother-in-law showed up, which startled me. Thanks for earlier. Running away in the middle of our conversation, how terrible is that? Were you shocked because Jennifer is so beautiful? What do you need, mother? I brought this for you. When my mother-in-law handed me a paper, I took it and saw that it was a divorce form. The reality of it sent shivers down my spine. Are you telling me to get a divorce? What was the purpose of you coming to check on me every day? My mother-in-law sneered at my question. I wasn't checking on you, but on my grandchild. My grandchild is about to be born, and this is a betrayal. The one who betrayed is you. What? When did I ever betray anyone? I have no memory of such a thing. Don't play dumb. You deliberately got pregnant to tear apart the two who were meant to be together. It's terrifying. To think you'd have a shotgun wedding just to make sure you wouldn't lose the man you targeted. Jennifer is a modest girl who has been waiting all this time because of you. Ideally, Eric would have married Jennifer, taken over her family's business, and I would have been called a lady. My mother-in-law rambled on with her delusional fantasies. Wait, please. You're mistaken, mother. We got pregnant before marriage by choice. I know a friend who struggled with fertility treatments and we have no regrets. No excuses. Be quiet. My mother-in-law seemed not to be listening to me. She was lost in her own world. What is this daughter-in-law saying? Oh, poor Jennifer. She has nothing to do with this, right? She does. She loved Eric, but because her parents told her to, she married for political reasons. And yet. My mother-in-law teared up. Stop it. A scream-like voice as Jennifer barged into the house, standing in front of me as if to protect my mother-in-law. Her breathing was rough, and she seemed excited. As I heard, you're the worst. It's terrible to blame an older person. Do you think it's okay just because you're pregnant? Jennifer suddenly entered and treated me like the villain. This situation made even less sense. What exactly was happening? Jennifer, did you come because you were worried about me? That's right. What a kind girl. Of course. I stared blankly at the farce unfolding before me. Why did such a good girl have to be abandoned because of infertility? My mother-in-law dabbed her eyes with a handkerchief passed to her by Jennifer. For some reason, they both glared at me. This is the first I'm hearing about the infertility. If it's true, that must be very hard. Right? You think so, right? Jennifer would make a good mom. I'm supporting her, so naturally. And Eric would make a good dad. So leave the child in your belly to us. Why would that be? Jennifer nodded in agreement next to my mother-in-law. Speechless, I listened as my mother-in-law pressed on. You can always have another child, you'll be fine. Just find someone else quickly and have a shotgun wedding. The moment I heard my mother-in-law's words, my mind inexplicably calmed down. I realized it was pointless to talk to her. Just have another, you say? My child is one of a kind. I would never give them up to anyone. I suddenly remembered my husband's words. If they persist, I have a plan. And I calmly said, if that's what you suggest, I'll get a divorce. Hearing this, my mother-in-law and Jennifer looked surprised, then burst into smiles. You caused us trouble with your shotgun wedding, but it turned out okay. Getting remarried and obtaining a child too, what luck. It was good to cooperate with you, mother. Cooperate? What do they mean? What exactly is their relationship? No, I shouldn't care. Right now, I should just focus on safely giving birth. I took the divorce papers, filled them out, and handed them back to my mother-in-law. I've received it. I'll submit it as soon as Eric signs. My mother-in-law and Jennifer seemed pleased. While packing my things, I contacted my husband. I told him I had filled out the divorce papers, that I was going back to my parents' home for a hometown birth, and asked him to vacate our home. His reply was simply, understood. That's fine. It's best to do this before things get more complicated. I have my child to protect. I'll leave without looking back. Thus, I divorced my husband during my final month of pregnancy. 1 month later. In my arms, my beloved child peacefully sleeps. A healthy boy who eats, sleeps, and cries well. With support from my mother at home, I've been managing childcare without major issues, though I have virtually no time for myself. I'd rather sleep than watch TV or look at my smartphone, but I don't mind the hard work, even if it's around the clock. Because my child is adorable. So adorable that it wouldn't hurt to put them in my eyes or up my nose. It seems I'm not the only one who thinks this way. My mother and, of course, my husband feel the same. We watch our child cry with all his might, and it's heartwarming. The happy moment was shattered by the loud ringtone of my smartphone. The caller was my former mother-in-law. Hey. Stacy, where are you? I answered calmly. Mother and I are no longer related. Where I am is my own business. Hand over the grandchild as promised. Coward. I don't understand what you mean, and I made no such promise. Where's Eric? Jennifer is waiting for him? This isn't what we agreed on. I took a deep breath. Then I told my former mother-in-law. Yes, the situation was different, wasn't it? What? I know everything. You know? My husband investigated it. What are you talking about? Playing dumb is useless. My husband wondered why my mother-in-law was trying so hard to separate us and take our child. He uncovered a shocking fact. My mother-in-law was in a dubious relationship with a real estate company's president. She had been divorced and single for a long time, but it was unbelievable and unacceptable to my husband that she was involved with a married man. However, the more he investigated, the more evidence he found of a romantic relationship between his mother and the company's president. This president's child was Jennifer, who my mother-in-law was friendly with. Originally, Jennifer helped create alibis for her affairs and received allowances for it. Eventually, she and my mother-in-law got along well. It seems Jennifer had a poor relationship with her biological mother, but to be friendly with her father's lover was bizarre. My mother-in-law heard that Jennifer, having been divorced and returned to her parents' home, was labeled infertile and treated terribly. How unfortunate for poor Jennifer. Don't worry, I have a good idea. Marry my son. Now, you'll even get a child with it. My mother-in-law thought by marrying her son to Jennifer, his childhood friend, it would be easier for her to continue her affair. As relatives, she could freely visit the house, and meeting outside would be excusable. A charming childhood friend was more suitable as a wife than that unappealing woman. She planned to cause a divorce and then hand over the soon-to-be-born grandchild to solidify Jennifer's position in the real estate business. This way, she could ask for financial support and live a carefree life as a lover. Although it was a terrible suggestion, Jennifer, who felt marginalized after her return, happily agreed. Marry Eric, a handsome civil servant? Yes, I'll do it. Definitely. Then cooperate with me. Let's drive out the daughter-in-law together. Everything went according to my mother-in-law's plan, and she handed the divorce papers to my husband. That woman being pregnant was a hassle. But it's okay now. Submit these. Now all she had to do was wait for the grandchild to come back. However, no matter how long she waited, there was no contact. Of course, that was expected. Having learned of his mother's adultery and Jennifer's true nature, my husband had already decided to cut ties with his mother. But my mother-in-law, believing they were in the right, was oblivious to the irretrievable situation. Perhaps the daughter-in-law broke the promise. Maybe the grandchild is being held hostage. What should we do? That was her misunderstanding when she called me in a panic. Hurry up and tell me where Eric is. Give back my grandchild. Keep your promise. My mother-in-law shouted angrily. My husband will not return to you. What? He's on my side. What? On that day, my husband had said, I'm making a divorce declaration to my mother to escape to a safe place. And don't worry about anything afterwards, just have a healthy child. Believing his words, I filled out the divorce papers as instructed by my mother-in-law and returned to my parents' home. Then, having learned everything, my husband filed for divorce. He couldn't forgive what my mother-in-law had done, but it was also to protect me and our child. Later, my husband restricted access to his residency information to prevent being located. Eventually, we remarried, and this time he took my surname. He didn't hesitate to cut ties with his mother who tried to take our precious child. Now, we are together at my parents' home. So, Eric will no longer be involved with you. But Eric was supposed to be with Jennifer. Without his own desire, he would never be together with her. Oh, and by the way, Eric has now taken my surname, and depending on circumstances, he might become my family's adopted son in the future. Please don't worry about your heir. What? Both my husband and I no longer want any involvement with you. That's a lie. He joyfully accepted to remarry Jennifer. Did he? Really? With the position of the next president of the real estate company and the beautiful Jennifer, who would reject that? Jennifer is more beautiful than Stacy. It's infuriating to be told that face to face. I'm certainly not a beauty, but that's irrelevant now. That might be generally perceived, but people have their preferences. How dare you speak like that? Did you really listen to your son? You only thought about yourself, didn't you? You. At that moment, my husband took over the phone. Mom, enough is enough. He spoke coldly to his mother over the phone. Don't you understand why I've cut ties with you? My mother-in-law was shocked by her son's sudden start. No way, disowning. What are you saying? Calm down. Let's talk properly now. There's no need. What? Do you realize how shocking it is to learn about your mother's affair? I'm disillusioned. It's shameful to have such a person as a parent. What? Why would you say that? My mother-in-law couldn't hide her turmoil at her son's unyielding words. I get it, you've been influenced by that daughter-in-law. No. Are you going to make assumptions again? It has to be, otherwise it doesn't make sense. What my mother is doing is many times more absurd. I have no intention of letting her hold my grandchild. What? As I said earlier, there's nothing to discuss with my mother. Please never contact me again. Eric said this clearly and then hung up the phone. I thought we were finally safe. But I was too naive. My mother-in-law and Jennifer were waiting in front of the hospital on the day of my child's 1-month checkup. My blood ran cold the moment I saw them. They didn't know my address, so they must have ambushed me here, certain I would come. I should have been more cautious to think they might even come to the hospital. Thinking it was too late for anything else, I decided to call the police. Just as I was about to take out my smartphone, my mother-in-law spotted me. I found you. I froze in fear as she approached steadily. In my arms, my child slept, oblivious to it all. I had to protect my child at all costs. You thought you escaped well, but it was all in vain. I couldn't find your address no matter where I inquired, but I knew you would definitely come here, so I've been waiting for 3 days. I was horrified by my mother-in-law's persistence. Oh, is that my grandchild there? Let me see his face. No. What? He's my grandchild. My mother-in-law seemed about to pounce. It was terrifying, but I couldn't falter. What do you want after ambushing me like this? Jennifer answered. Stop restraining him. Let him go. Her unexpected demand shocked me. My mother-in-law nodded in agreement, but I had no idea what she was talking about. He loves me. I was forced into marriage and, desperate for happiness, yes, in despair, I made you pregnant. Jennifer spoke like a soap opera actress, her eyes welling with tears. I just stared, open-mouthed. What was even happening? When I was single, he was deprived of his freedom by you. We were just like ships passing in the night. Such cruel fate. Was she drunk in the middle of the day? I asked calmly. What are you talking about? My mother-in-law interjected. Don't you understand? Step aside. You're causing suffering to 2 people who love each other. I have heard a different story from my husband. Since when do you 2 love each other? Since elementary school. That's news to me. Are you sure it's not just a fantasy? You are really terrible. From an outsider's perspective, she was the heroine and I was the villain. It was so absurd I couldn't even get angry. The tearful Jennifer and the furious mother-in-law continued. You see? The intruder here is you. Support Jennifer's remarriage. And give her the grandchild since she's infertile. You can just have another child, right? I promise to raise him properly as an heir. I don't think a mistress can make such a promise. This was ridiculous, and I just wanted to leave, but leaving these unreasonable people unchecked could lead to unpredictable consequences. They might ambush me again, and I wanted to settle this somehow. Just then, Eric, out of breath, appeared. I had thought about calling the police earlier, but I connected the call to him instead. Enough is enough, he said sternly to the surprised pair. Eric, you've come. You're truly my destiny, and in the end, you'll be mine. That's not going to happen. Eric shook off Jennifer's approaching hand. Stop it. What you did was the worst too. What? Jennifer's expression changed in an instant. I've had it investigated, and I know everything. If you keep stalking, I won't stay silent. Jennifer turned pale. My mother-in-law and I were confused. At that moment, a nurse from the hospital approached us. She had come out because she was concerned about the argument at the entrance. I apologized and was about to leave when the nurse looked at Jennifer and said, Oh, long time no see. How's your daughter? Everyone present was stunned. Jennifer was supposed to be infertile and divorced. Aren't you mistaken? Jennifer was visibly shaken, and the nurse pressed on. No, I'm not mistaken. You gave birth to a very cute baby, didn't you? What are you talking about? My mother-in-law peered into Jennifer's face and asked. Jennifer? What does this mean? It seemed Eric knew everything already. He looked slightly exasperated. You can't escape the truth now. You're a cunning woman. What are you talking about? It's useless to lie now. Don't you understand the gravity of what you've done? I decided to reveal the truth. Jennifer, the sole daughter of a real estate company, had married a wealthy man years ago. According to my mother-in-law, she was forced into a political marriage, but it turns out that wasn't true. Jennifer enjoyed being the center of attention at matchmaking parties and was well known in the area for disrupting them. She quickly married a wealthy man she met at one such event and had a lovely daughter. Later, claiming she was tired from childcare and needed to relieve stress, she pushed her child onto her husband and returned to her old partying habits. After engaging with numerous men and hardly coming home, her husband and his parents were understandably furious. Inexplicably enraged, Jennifer chose her free lifestyle over her own child and divorced. Not wanting it known that the divorce was her fault, Jennifer lied. If I had been blamed for infertility and spent my days suffering, then suddenly my ex-husband brought another child he made with someone else. I don't know whose child it was, but he forced me to raise it properly. I tried my best, but the child never warmed up to me, and I was driven out. It's incredible how she can lie so conveniently to suit herself. I'm speechless. My mother-in-law didn't know about this story. Jennifer? Is that true? Are you that kind of woman? What kind of woman? You're the same, aren't you? What did you say? Say that again. I'll say it as many times as needed. How dare a mere mistress act so high and mighty? It seems they've completely turned on each other. Where did the fragile heroine from earlier go? Jennifer, now showing her true colors, glares at my mother-in-law with harsh words. Don't you know what you should and shouldn't say? It's terrible to expose such delicate matters. It's an invasion of privacy. Jennifer lashes out at Eric. I didn't want to say it. It's your fault for clinging on. It's not me, it's her fault. Wow, Jennifer. Are you talking about me? I was just deceived by her. That's something I cannot ignore. Their filthy exchange could wake up my quietly sleeping child. I feel bad for my husband, who rushed over during work, so it's time to resolve this. Are you both okay? What? What? The police will be here soon. What? There's enough reason to report this, with all the talk of divorce, demanding a child, and a 3-day stakeout. What? Explain your motives and reasons honestly when they ask. The faces of my mother-in-law and Jennifer pale. Eric then says, if you need evidence of their affair, I have it all detailed. Should I show it? I will also cooperate if testimony is needed. The two panic. Stop. We don't need it. The police are too much. It seems even these unreasonable two don't have the nerve to assert their actions openly to the police. Police shouldn't intervene in a family matter. My mother-in-law hurriedly says that, but I respond. Family? Mother, who ambushed us and tried to force us apart, can you be called family? You're a stranger. Stranger? Yes, you're a stranger. I don't know you anymore. We're not related. Yes, we're not related. So, if this happens again. It won't. Never again. My mother-in-law and Jennifer, hand in hand, ran away. In fact, I hadn't called the police. Even if a police officer had come, showing them evidence of the affair would only complicate things. Lying to fend them off, I guess I'm quite cunning and bad myself. Later, I heard through the grapevine that my mother-in-law's long-term affair had finally been exposed to her husband. She mistakenly thought he would choose her if they divorced. Naturally, he announced their separation, and now she's negotiating with a lawyer to reduce the compensation her legal wife demanded. The one who spilled the beans about the affair was apparently Jennifer. After their heated argument, Jennifer told lies about being infertile, and I got disowned. What are you going to do about it? Shut up, it doesn't matter. You're just a mistress after all. What? You've ruined my life. Apologize. Show some sincerity. Fed up with the persistent mother-in-law, Jennifer, seeing no benefit in staying friends, exposed the affair and tried to remove her. I think my mother-in-law got what she deserved, but Jennifer is quite a terrifying woman too. By the way, Jennifer whimsically contacted her ex-husband, claiming visitation rights, and met her daughter. Seeing her cute daughter and her ex-husband, who had become a kind father, she regretted letting them go and pressed for reconciliation, but he was about to remarry. So, please refrain from contacting us. Think about the child, he refused her. It's my child, how terrible. I'll sue to get her back, she's furious, but I don't agree. She has no right to be angry, right? If she reflects on her actions, she'll understand. Considering the original reasons for their divorce and the track record of upbringing, there's no way she can get the child back. She should stop disrupting a happy family. She should realize how unnecessary she is. Our child is growing up healthy, and I'm actually pregnant with our second child. Raising an older child with a big belly is tough, and I'm drained of energy every day. Managing this, it's natural for a mother to become stronger and more resilient. Eric casually says he wants another child, and I'll undoubtedly become even tougher. How tough? For instance, even if my mother-in-law shows up unexpectedly, I could laugh her off. Mother is strong. For my children, there's nothing to fear. There's no right way to do parenting, and though I'm not confident I'm doing it perfectly, as long as my family can live smiling, that's surely enough.